9 reasons why am I so emotional? Humans are fleshy bags of emotions. We feel happy when goodies happen, get angry when things don't go our way, and sob when something sad happens. Sometimes we get so excited we discover ourselves hopping around like bunnies. These different emotions and our ability to feel them are what make us human. Our sensitivity levels and the way we express our emotions, however, differ. This is the reason some people are considered more emotional than others. After you express your emotions more intensely than you should, you may find yourself asking questions. Why am I so emotional? Why do I cry or get angry over the littlest things? Why do I react to events more intensely than others do? Below are some of the reasons why this could be so. 1. You are only human. If a beloved dies, otherwise you lose something vital to you, becoming emotional is merely normal. If you find out you're the only one crying or that you're mourning longer than everyone else, it doesn't mean you're overreacting or that you're strange. Simply remind yourself that humans are different. Hence, we also grieve differently. The fact that others aren't crying or outwardly showing how they feel doesn't mean they are not feeling the same thing you are. Also, if your emotions do not obstruct your day-to-day activities, it could simply be that you are more sensitive than others. It could also be that at that moment, your emotions are heightened due to a variety of factors like lack of sleep or stress. As long as your emotions are not disrupting your life or the life of someone else, you shouldn't let it deter you. You are just being human. 2. Your genetics. Having emotions is natural, but if you've got people telling you that you simply are too emotional, otherwise you personally desire you're too emotional, it might be the result of your genetic components. Some studies have proven that gene variation can cause your brain to be more sensitive to emotions. Genes like serotonin transporter, the sensitivity gene, dopamine genes, and the emotional vividness gene can trigger heightened activity in certain parts of the brain. This, in turn, increases your emotional response and sensitivity to your environment. Also, if you have a family member with a disorder such as depression or anxiety, there is a chance of you inheriting the affective disorder. Should you want to figure out why you get so emotional, you can check your genes. 3. You aren't getting sufficient rest. We all know a lack of sufficient sleep can make one very grouchy. Imagine after hours spent working late into the night, you finally climb into bed, only to hear your alarm clock ring 3 hours later, telling you to go back to work. The first thing on your mind might be to fling your alarm clock across the room or punch your pillow. The feeling of anger or frustration you wake up with can be easily triggered by little things, making you irritable all day. If you go on for days or weeks with too little sleep, it can also affect your concentration levels, increase the risks of anxiety and depression, and weaken your physical balance. And with weakened balance, you may find yourself stumbling and running into people or objects, which no doubt will fan the flames of your foul mood. Good rest gives you a far better rein on your emotions. When you are well rested, you wake up feeling content, hence, your tolerance for negative emotions will be higher. Without sufficient rest, your tolerance will be lower, causing you to yell or cry over little things. 4. You isolate yourself. Constantly keeping to yourself and staying away from people, events can cause you to be overly emotional. Sure, having alone time is great and can be rejuvenating. But when you constantly seclude yourself, it dampens your spirits. It can be demoralizing and can make you cagey. But when you surround yourself with people, even occasionally, it fills you with excitement. It occupies your mind and takes it away from your worries and troubles. You also learn to expect different characteristics and types of people, and you learn the best ways to deal with them. Being around people can get you well accustomed to kind people, gentle people, stubborn people, and mean people. Over time, you will learn to ignore the negative people and to keep your emotions in check when you're around them. Staying secluded, on the other hand, gives you lots of time to dwell on your troubles. You could spend hours thinking of the things going wrong in your life and getting depressed or anxious over them. Also, when you're always alone, you won't learn to build up your defense against negative people or situations. The smallest provocation could have you breathing fire or sobbing. Lastly, when you stay alone for too long, you can get lonely. Loneliness is a negative feeling that can make you overly emotional. 5. Poor diet. The next time you ask yourself, why am I so emotional, try reviewing your diet. The food you consume or neglect can directly affect your emotions. For example, you might love eating junk food like ice cream and chocolates. While eating these might be enjoyable at the time, the happy feeling will not last. The joy and excitement you feel while eating junk food are often due to a sugar rush, and this rush is only temporary. Afterward, you might feel guilty or angry, especially if you are on a diet and it's not a cheat day. This feeling of guilt can easily be triggered into something more intense if afterward, you receive unpleasant news or something else goes wrong. Eating healthy food like fruits, proteins, and vegetables will keep you pleased with yourself at all times. Hence, there will be no guilty or shameful feeling after a meal. 6. You're undergoing major life changes. While change is constant in life, there are people who are not open to it. There is a chance that you are one of them. Change can be good and pleasing. It can also be abrupt and unsettling. And when you constantly feel like the ground has been pulled from beneath your feet, it can make your emotions uncontrollable. Some common major life changes include relocation, marriage, divorce, childbirth, losing a job, getting a new job, losing a loved one, and so on. These life changes often come with an underlying vulnerability that heightens your emotions. When something good happens, you feel happier than usual because you are pleased something good has come out of an uncomfortable situation. But if something bad happens, your sadness or anger will be more intense because you feel so unstable. So if you've just undergone some major life change, don't fret about being overly emotional. Take the feelings as they come, but be careful not to do anything harmful in the process. In a few weeks or months, when you start adapting to your situation, you will feel more in control of your emotions once again. 7. You are stressed. Stress is one major reason people get very emotional. It takes a toll on a person's physical and mental state. And when you already feel mentally drained, little discomforts here and there can heighten your emotions. For example, someone could return stressed from work and want nothing more than to climb into bed, only to realize their toddler has poured milk all over the kitchen. So, the person promptly bursts into tears. On any other day, they might hurriedly pick up a mop and tidy up the place, then scold the child a little. But on a stressful day, their anger or sadness over the child's actions will be heightened. Mental and physical stress happens from time to time and has an often temporary effect, but chronic stress can have a permanent effect on a person. This is why a once calm parent who has 2 more kids and has to work extra hard every day to provide for their family can quickly become an impatient, irritable person. If your stress isn't likely to go away anytime soon. 8. You're grieving. Grieving the loss of someone or something very close to you can heighten your emotions intensely. So, if your emotions get heightened whenever you see or hear anything that reminds you of the person you've lost, know that it's normal. Also, if weeks after you've lost someone, you react strongly to everything, know that's normal, too. All you need to do is be patient with yourself and give time the reins to ease your grief. Grief doesn't only happen when someone you care about dies. You can also grieve after a breakup, an opportunity you missed, or even a mistake you made. Remember that we all grieve differently, so don't beat yourself up over the fact that you're crying longer than everyone else. 9. You're traumatized. Trauma is one common reason people get overly emotional. It is often a subconscious response to a horrible event that led to physical or mental harm. These experiences trigger negative emotions such as fear, anger, terror, guilt, sadness, and shame, sometimes months or even years after the event. Traumatic experiences such as accidents, sexual assaults, physical assaults, kidnapping and so on, can lead to enhanced emotions. Traumatic flashbacks are often triggered by places, faces, names, and objects that remind you of the events. These flashbacks can often lead to overly emotional behavior. If you have experienced a trauma, you are not alone. There are resources out there for you. Is it bad to be emotional? The effect your emotions have on you and the people around you is what determines whether they are good or bad. If you hurt yourself or others whenever you get sad or angry, then the fact that you are emotional is bad, and you must learn to control it. Also, if whenever something good happens, you get too happy or excited and find yourself saying things you shouldn't, you should learn to control it. But, if your emotional state is not harmful to you or anyone else, then there is nothing wrong with being emotional. In this case, being emotional gives you the liberty of self-expression. It stops you from suppressing your feelings or suffering in silence. Also, if your emotions are not in any way harmful, being emotional makes it easier for people to relate with you. As a person, it'd be worthwhile to ask, why am I so emotional? Knowing the reason your feelings are often heightened can help you learn to control them. If your emotional state is due to a lack of proper diet or exercise, you can work on those. And if it's due to grief or a major life change, you can give yourself time to heal and adjust. Ultimately, so long as your emotional state does not make you do things you will regret, being emotional is nothing to be ashamed of. It only means you are human.